Hello, sixth graders. We're continuing with Granted. We are now on chapter 35, page 218. They are following a boy and a girl, and the boy has just loaded his truck, a little wagon, call it a truck or wagon, because they had a lemonade stand. And Ophia's a little concerned, something about the vibe, if you will, that she's getting from the boy. However, they're following along, but not too close. Sam had no trouble keeping up this time. No, nothing like the bird, he said. The boy towed the igloo in the wagon, and the girl dutifully rode behind her brother, often bumping up against the back of him and then slowing down again, afraid, it seemed, to take the lead. Sam kept his distance as commanded, padding softly in the grass on the opposite side of the road, past a cornfield and branching dirt roads to a big yellow farmhouse with white gray windows and a wraparound porch. The boy and girl pulled their bikes up along the winding driveway and parked them by the side of the house. The mailbox by the road said 4462 in yellow script, and underneath in smaller print the name Morales. Sam stopped behind a row of boxwoods, his head poking out over the top, Ophia's head poking out over his like two groundhogs peeking out of a burrow. "That is a big yard," Sam said. It was a giant yard, Ophia admitted, and full of trees, almost as if a hunk of the haven had been carved from the mountaintop and transplanted here. A grizzly old oak held court from the center of the yard, a tire hanging from one thick branch, spinning slowly first one way and then the other. There was one car in the driveway, a red van with a dented backside and a sticker that said, "Support our troops." A few toys were scattered about, a baseball hoop, it was called baseball, wasn't it? Towered by the garage. A flag by the front door snapped crisply in the wind. There were boxed flowers everywhere you looked. Someone in the house took pride in having a green thumb. This, Ophia thought, is what home looks like. She wondered if Sam was thinking the same thing. The boy and his sister unpacked their wagon, him hefting the cooler and her carrying the stack of cups. She heard him holler, "We're back," as they went through front door, taking Kasara's wish with them. "Now what?" Sam asked. "Reconnaissance," Ophia said. Sam looked at her dumbly. "Spying," she clarified. He still looked confused. "We sit and watch." Sam panted happily. "Oh, that is good. I am very good at sitting. It is the first thing I learned how to do." To prove his point, Sam dropped back onto his rump. Ophia patted his nose. "That's terrific, but I need to get somewhere I can see. Come on." She led him up to the house, careful to keep by the trees and bushes and out of direct view of the windows. The closer she got, the more clearly she saw the shape the house was in. The gutters sagged. Several shingles had been ripped from the roof. The yellow siding was more of a greenish gray in spots, almost black in others. Some of the wooden trim was rotting. She and Sam crept past the bicycles and pressed against the side of the house. Ophia paused. The sound of Kasara's wish carried through the walls, and her heart fluttered. The day had been a total disaster. Absolutely nothing had gone as planned. But compared to planes and hawks and brooms, breaking into this home seemed, if not easy, then at least doable. She had the coin cornered. She could hear muffled voices coming from one of the windows above. A planter with the tulip sprouts struggling upward hung below it. "Give me a lift, will you?" Sophia perched precariously on the end of Sam's cold nose again, just as she had at the bakery, and he jumped up, planting his paws against the siding, giving her just enough height to pull herself over the edge. She rolled over one of the flowers, getting dirt all over her uniform, but after being slobbered on, spritzed, foamed, and dropped into a pond, she hardly cared. Sophia apologized to the pansy and then crawled to the window ledge and lifted her head just enough to see through the crevice where the curtains didn't quite meet. A small kitchen, apricot-colored walls, a circular wooden table sat at one end, covered in newspapers like the one Sophia had been swatted with back at the diner. Several glass jars were lined up along one counter with all kinds of rocks and leaves inside, each one chosen, it seemed, for their odd shape, rich color, or sparkling glint. Someone in the house was a collector. A sign above one entry asked anyone who read it to bless this mess. The children's mother, the one who insisted they come home and play outside back at the diner, stood by a stove, stirring something in a large black pot, her back to the window. Sophia couldn't smell through the glass, of course, but she could see the steam drifting up, and her stomach grumbled at the thought that it might be something good inside. Rhubarb soup, perhaps? Or maybe a giant pot of strawberry jam. As Sophia watched and the woman stirred, the children came in and took turns washing their hands at the sink. The boy then reached into his shirt and set the bag of money on the table. Less than 20 feet away, but separated by a pane of glass and the bigger pane of three humans and their spying eyes, crouched close to the window, Sophia could make out their voices at last. "How did it go?" the mother asked, and Sophia got a good look at her face, pale and weathered and bracketed by strands of coppery hair. She had the same long, sloping nose as her son. Her eyes were hazel, like her daughter's, though puffy gray crescents hung underneath. Her voice was sweet and soft, and Sophia had to press a little closer to the glass to hear what she said. "Did you make a lot?" "I wasn't allowed to count," Anna complained, drying her hands on her mom's apron. "But Gabe said we sold 14 cups. "We sold 12, the boy corrected, drying his own hands on the legs of his jeans. "But that guy at the end gave us extra because he felt sorry for us." Sophia wondered if that wasn't the man in the striped shirt, the one she'd been cursing all day long, tipping these kids an extra couple of bucks, or maybe just forking over all the change he had in his pocket without even counting it. She felt a little bad for wanting to knock him unconscious earlier. Just a little. 7 each isn't bad, the mother said, cracking open the oven and peeking inside. "Are you kidding?" the boy snapped. "It's not even minimum wage. We stood out there for 3 freaking hours." "Gabriel Morales, you watch your language," the mother snapped, her voice suddenly plenty loud enough for Sophia to hear. She pointed the wooden spoon at him. He rolled his eyes. "Whatever," he said. "That's not even a bad word." He slumped down at the table, chin digging into his crossed arms. It sure sounded like a bad word to Sophia, at least the way he said it. "Anna, did you have fun at least?" The girl shrugged. "I'd rather have gone fishing." "I'm sure your brother would have taken you fishing." Brother and sister glanced at each other. "I'd rather have gone fishing with Dad," the girl amended, and slumped in a chair next to her brother. "No offense," she murmured. The boy didn't seem offended. In fact, he gave his sister a sympathetic look and then proceeded to draw an imaginary picture on the table with his fingers. The mother sighed and went back to stirring. "We didn't miss him, did we?" Gabe asked tentatively. The mother didn't stop, just stared into the pot as if if it held the answer to her son's question, and she had to stop and she had to keep mixing to bring it to the surface. He said he would try to call, but you know how it is. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning over there. And if he's out on patrol or off for any base for any reason. She paused, spoon in hand. He could still call, she finished. Sure, Gabe said. We can stay up late tonight, just in case. Right, he sighed. He pushed his chair back. The ear-scraping screech of wood on wood, and looked at his sister. You want to go upstairs and divvy up all this hard-earned cash? She nodded. But I get the bills. You can have some of the bills, he said. The boy grabbed the bag and raced out of the kitchen, his sister close on his heels. Althea watched them leave, a little vexed to have Kasara's wish out of her sight again. When she looked back, the mother was leaning over the kitchen counter, head cradled in both hands. Clearly, Althea wasn't the only one having a rough day. She motioned for Sam to help her climb back down, walking over his nose like a bridge and then sliding down his back to the grass below. Did you recon the scents? He asked, keeping his voice to a soft growl. Althea nodded. 3 people in the house, no pets as far as I can tell, but there could easily be some beast lurking somewhere. The wish is upstairs now, probably in one of the kids' rooms. She started tugging on a loose strand of hair, twisting it round and round, a tiny blue hair tornado. We need an entry point, preferably something secretive. An open window, a hole in the wall, something big enough for me to squeeze through. You go look around back. I'll check the front again. I'm a very good hole finder, Sam boasted. But quietly, she reminded him, putting a finger to her lips. Oh, yes, of course. Subtle and healthy. Stealthy. Yes, that too. Sam trotted off, and Althea stood with her hands on her hips and surveyed the side of the house. The windows were all shut. She could break the glass easy enough, provided she could scrounge up a good-sized rock, but that wasn't exactly subtle or stealthy. Besides, judging by the look of her, Mrs. Morales didn't need a rock through her window. Althea could pry one open, maybe, provided they weren't locked, but a woman living alone with 2 kids wasn't likely to leave her windows unfastened. So we're going to stop there. Middle of page 225. Thank you so much, 6th graders. Hope you're doing well. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.